Thanks for joining me today. This is Danny, and welcome back to my FTB Unstable 1.8 series. This is episode number 9, and we are going to be playing with Botania today. I did spend a little bit of time before this episode checking out the Lexica Botania, which of course is the book for the Botania mod that has everything you would ever want to know about Botania. And as far as I can tell, it's not a whole lot has changed. Now this mod in 1.8 is a port from the original mod, and it was not done by the original mod developer. It wasn't done by Vasky, it was done by someone else. But as far as I can tell, it's pretty much the same, with a few minor differences. So in today's episode, we're going to be setting up our basic crafting in Botania and mana production and the basic infrastructure that we're going to need to be able to get all the really cool items that Botania has to offer. And this little area over here is a kind of a garden that I had prepared before this episode for us to do all this. We'll be able to see kind of some of the little differences in Botania and some of the little tweaks and special little features that have been added. So that should be fun. If you are not familiar with Botania, I do have a Botania series, or a Botania tutorial series that covers pretty in-depth everything on how to get started with Botania and all the things you can do with it and all that fun stuff. And this episode is going to be more of a let's play, and I'll talk through and I'll explain the process, but I'm going to try not to bore the crap out of those of you who already understand Botania. And we're going to spend a lot of time kind of focusing on automation too. But let me give you just a quick brief introduction. Now, where Thaumcraft is really about the essences of magic that are coming from some outer world that are kind of leaking through into our world, Botania is really about the magical essences within nature. It's about flowers and kind of hedge magery or hedge wizardry. We created this world before Botania was in this mod pack. So I had to travel quite a ways to find some mystical flowers, and I think I ended up going way over here. Plains biomes are great places to do it, not necessarily because there are more, but just because they're easier to see. And you're going to want to collect, well, first thing you're going to want to do is probably make yourself one of these flower pouches, because a flower pouch allows you to carry a stack of each colored flower, and there's 16 colored flowers. Took some time before this episode and went and got a little bit of every kind of flower. I'm a little short on the mystical gray flowers, probably because they're harder to see, or light gray. They're a little harder to see, and actually I'm probably going to need those soon. But anyway, when you take these flowers and you put them in a crafting grid, you get these mystical petals. So in this case, we got a mystical lime petal because we had a mystical lime flower, which I am going to use to make our first basically crafting mechanic within Botania. Botania is all about in-world crafting. So the Petal Apothecary is a place that you throw in petals to get back some kind of items. And what's really cool is this thing does need water. We put a bucket of water in there, but we're going to do a little bit of cross-mod play here, and we're going to stick an everfull urn next to our Petal Apothecary. And it should fill it up for us, and then we will never have to... Better fill it up. Oh, there we go. Hooray! So we should never have to make a Petal Apothecary again. I mean, we should never have to fill our Petal Apothecary again. Hooray! Oh, we are going to need some seeds. So the very first thing that we're going to want to craft, of course, is going to be the pure daisy. We're going to need some seeds, and we're going to need some white petals. So the pure daisy is going to allow us to make living wood and living stone. So it's just 4 white petals in the Petal Apothecary, and then every recipe in the Petal Apothecary requires seeds. So what I'm actually going to do in order to maximize, because I don't have a whole lot of flowers, and since there are no flowers locally here, and getting flowers for me is kind of difficult. I'm going to make 2 of these pure daisies, which means I'm going to need 4 petals. Each one of these flowers gives us 2. However, if we bone meal them... Oh, I did not want to do that. I just cleaned this up. They become big flowers. And then we can... But when they're big flowers, we do need a shears to break the big flower. So if you see these big flowers in the world, they do actually grow naturally in the world. But if you try to break them with your bare hands or anything other than a shears, you will lose them. Oh, I did not really want to pick it. You know what? I'll just take the grass. Why not? Maybe we'll find some use for it. So we put these guys in our crafting grid, and we actually get 4 petals out of the tall ones instead of just 2. So we can right click on this guy. Oh, we can. Okay, never mind. We toss it in there with the Q key. And then we throw, to finalize the recipe, we throw in a seed. And then this thing will fill up again. And then if we right click with an empty hand, it will just pull from our inventory and repeat the last recipe. And now it's telling us, oh, look at that graphic. I've never seen that before. I think that's new. It's telling us that we're okay to throw in our seeds now to get our pure daisy. Oh, I love that everfull urn. That is so nice. So now we're going to just set our pure daisies down in the world. I'm going to put them over here. Will that be in the way? No. Okay. One there and one there. We're going to surround one with wood. And you can see there's kind of a particle effect going on there. This is going to make us living wood. And we're going to surround it. We're going to surround that one with stone. And again, we've got the particle effect. This is going to make us living stone. All right, we've got our first living wood and living stone. I'm just going to plant some more right away. Pretty much what I usually do is I pretty much always keep these surrounded by stone and with stone and wood. That way if I ever need any more, I can just break it and then replant some more. Everything in Botania is based on mana. So the first thing we're going to want to do is to produce mana. There's flowers that generate mana for us, some more than others. The only kind that we can make right now are the day blooms, which generate mana using photosynthesis, but they're extremely slow. And then we have the night shade, which generates mana at night. I'm basically going to be sleeping at night because I'm out here working outside. So we're just going to go with the day bloom. Huh. It's not in JEI. That's strange. Anyway, it's 2 yellow, 1 orange, 1 light blue. And again, just to make sure I maximize these flowers, I'm going to plant them first and bone meal them. I'll only be doing that in the beginning because eventually we're going to plant a flower that allows us to grow flowers using mana. So and we won't really have to worry about having a source of flowers because we're going to have all the flowers that we need. One thing I did notice about Botania in this mod pack, it adds a lot of building blocks to the pack because there aren't a whole lot of building blocks in this pack yet. I mean, even the chisel building blocks are kind of limited at this point, and there's not... Okay, let's see now. It's telling us we can make a day bloom. That's cool. I like that. And let's get an empty hand here. Oh, I love this with the everfull urn. Wow, it makes this so much easier. Nice. We do have to stagger the day blooms. If we put them next to each other, we can see that there's kind of this particle effect. That's actually telling us they will interfere with each other. So the tool that we need for Botania is called a Wand of the Forest. So I'm going to make one of these right now, and we can give this whatever colors we want. Yeah, that looks nice. And if we shift click, we change the mode of it. We can be in function mode or bind mode. And while we're holding it, we'll be able to see the status of our stuff. So all these are full of mana right now. They have a very small mana buffer, but the little X is telling us it has no, it has nowhere to put the mana. We actually want 2 mana pools because we're going to need 2 in order to make one decent one. But we'll start with 1. So we can set down our mana pool, but our our day blooms will not transfer mana directly to the mana pool. They're going to need a mana spreader. Man, I love that. That is so cool. Hooray, mana spreader. So we'll put that here. That should be close enough. And again, we can put our wand in bind mode, shift right click, shift right click. So now it's pointing at the mana pool. So we'll do the same thing here, shift right click, shift right click. There, now these guys are sending to the mana pool. Now if we were to set this down after doing the mana spreader, we'll see that it automatically binds itself to the mana spreader. But because we set these down before the mana spreader, we have to bind them. Oh, our first mana burst, hooray! And the day blooms do not last forever. They are temporary. They are really just kind of there to get you started. So, and then once we have some mana, we can make some better mana producing flowers. Ooh, I just found something different. Hooray! We just crafted a mana pool, like an actual mana pool. Normally you would craft the diluted mana pool, and that's the only thing that you can craft. And then you have to drop the diluted mana pool into a mana pool to get a mana pool. But now you don't have to do that in this version. The mana pool actually has a direct recipe, and it's the same as the diluted recipe, or the diluted mana pool recipe used to be. The diluted mana pool is now living rock slabs. Not sure why you would ever want to make that unless you just wanted to save on living rock, but really, living rock is much cheaper than mana, so it really doesn't make sense to do that. And then we have this fabulous mana pool. Yes, that's actually what it's called, a fabulous mana pool. And it's made from shimmer rock. Shimmer rock, living rock, and bitfrost block. Elf glass and rod of the bitfrost, which is elementium. Interesting. I wonder how much mana that holds, like compared to the mana pool, compared to the regular old mana pool. Nice, awesome. So now let's make our first decent mana producing flowers, and that would probably be actually my favorite mana producing flowers. There's all these different flowers that we can use to produce flowers. My favorite are the endoflames. I pretty much use those for early game, and I keep using them right up through the end game, because what I like about them is that it's easy to scale them. I mean, you can just put tons of them, have tons of them down, have layers and layers of them, and they actually produce a decent amount of mana. I mean, you've got supposedly the thermal lilies are supposed to produce a lot more mana from lava, but they have such a long cooldown period that it really... Okay, so it generates no mana, having to wait 5 minutes. Now this book actually tells us, in the other version it doesn't tell us what the details are, like how long it takes. This is actually telling us it takes 5 minutes before it can start over and start producing mana again. It's two brown, 1 red, 1 light gray, and mana powder. Huh. Which is redstone or... Oh, look at that. This is new. It looks like we no longer have the mana petals. Interesting. So we can make it from gunpowder, redstone, glowstone, sugar, or any floral powder. Look at that. Nice. I'm pretty sure we have quite a bit of gunpowder, I think. Nope. I don't have enough mana. Okay, whatever. We got 4 of them. All right, I think I've got enough to make 4 endoflames. Wow, I love this. Right there, and these guys do not have to be staggered like those. And then we need to get some charcoal or coal or something. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to automate this. Normally I use Steve's Factory Manager to automate mana production with the endoflame. That's another reason. It's another one of the reasons I like using the endoflames, is because they're fairly easy to automate with Steve's Factory Manager. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So they should all pick them up. Here we go. Now they're producing mana. Now we're going to be getting mana at a much faster rate. It's still pretty slow, but definitely faster than it was. Because these day blooms are extremely slow. Actually, you know what? We could probably put... They pick up a piece of coal about once every minute or so. I think it was something like 65 seconds or something like that. So we could actually put down as many as 4 for each. So 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 without worrying about them despawning. Coal blocks would actually be even better. Or really anything you can burn in a furnace. Well, my day blooms have died. They've turned into dead bushes. That's kind of cool. So instead of just disappearing like they used to, they actually turn into dead bushes. I have this fully automated now, although it did take... I did have to kind of dig into the memory banks of how vanilla redstone works because I had to do a lot of vanilla stuff here. But I've got... Actually, let's turn this off so we can see how this works. We've got a open crate here. This is a Botania item, and it works just like a dropper, except that it drops straight down. And it doesn't have an inventory. See? Just like that. So it's a little bit more precise than a vanilla dropper, instead of just kind of spilling it out. And then we have a dropper here. Oops. And the reason we have a dropper here is so that we can give this a redstone pulse, which will send an item to the dropper, to the open crate rather, and cause it to drop a piece of charcoal. And we're dropping up one about every 10 seconds. And the way we're doing that is we're using RF Tools timer. It's a block called a timer, and it works just like you'd expect. Basically, every so many ticks, it sends a redstone pulse to our dropper. And every time it receives a redstone pulse, it will start over again. So, and unfortunately, you can't just give it a redstone signal. You actually have to give it a pulse, and every time it gets a pulse, it'll start its count over again. So what I did is I created a sequencer. This is also RF Tools. And the sequencer basically has several different modes. And I'm in the loop 3 mode, which basically means that it's going to loop a signal when it receives a redstone signal. And the loop, you can specify any pattern. And I just basically went with once every 8 ticks, it will do a pattern. I could probably get away with actually just doing once this entire time, and it would probably still work. Because it just has to emit a redstone pulse at least once every 200 ticks in order to start this timer over before it drops the next piece of coal. So then over here, next to our mana pool, hey, that doesn't show up in Wayla. That's interesting. We have a redstone comparator. When you set a redstone comparator next to a mana pool, it will output a redstone signal strength based on the fullness, or how full the mana pool is. So right now our mana pool is maybe about a third full, so it's emitting a redstone signal of power 5. So when the mana pool is completely full, this is going to emit a redstone signal of 15, and in order to, using vanilla mechanics, what I want to happen is I only want a redstone signal here when that redstone strength is 15. So of course, we know that a redstone with regular vanilla redstone powder, or redstone dust, we lose 1 redstone signal strength every block. So here we've got a redstone strength of 5, here it's 4, and so on and so forth. And then down here, I have it set up so that there's exactly 15 blocks. So I've got exactly 15 redstone blocks. And then this one is feeding into this block, which is attached to the sequencer. So when this signal right here, when there's any redstone signals of any strength here, the sequencer will kick in. Unfortunately, I couldn't have the redstone go directly into the sequencer. I had to put this block here to make it a little bit more bulkier bulky than it already was, but just to demonstrate how this works. So right now we've got the coal dropping down every 10 seconds. So come on, give us a drop. There we go. Now if we flip the switch, we should not see any coal dropping. Because this thing is emitting a pulse every, I think it's 56 ticks, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 56, once every 56 ticks, it's emitting a pulse to basically restart the timer. So that's what's going to happen when it's full. So once this mana pool is full, it's not going to drop coal anymore, and then these guys will no longer produce mana until some of this mana gets used up, and it'll start automatically producing it again, like this. So now the timer's going to start at 10, and in 10 seconds from the time I flip that switch, we should see another piece of coal drop. Hooray! Then I'll have to adjust this timer based on how many endo flames I have. These guys will actually pick up coal within a two block radius. So we can actually have them coming out to here and out to here. And then here. So for each one of these things, I think we can feed something like, what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 of these endo flames. So we can actually set up more of these. But what I'm going to do next, actually, there's one other flower, mana producing flower I'd like to make, just because we have this tree farm that's producing a lot of wood for us, but it's also producing a lot of apples. And we're not eating them as fast as they're being produced. So there's a flower called generating flora Gourmerialis that will eat food. And it's kind of cool because you can easily predict how long it's going to take, because it tells you right here in the Lexica Botania that the amount of time it takes to digest a delicacy depends on its nutritional value. In layman's terms, the amount of food points it restores. So for an apple, if we eat an apple, we'll see, if we look at our food pops down at the bottom, or whatever they're called, is exactly 2. And it's which is actually 4 food points. And it's a half a second per food point. So we know we're going to want to drop a single apple every 2 seconds. But before we can make this guy, we're going to have to get into Runecrafting. So we're going to have to make ourselves a Runic Alter. It's this guy, living rock, and then either a mana pearl or a mana diamond. So we're definitely going to go with the mana diamond because we've got lots of diamonds. Well, we have more diamonds than we have ender pearls. We only have 3 ender pearls. So to make a mana diamond, we simply drop a diamond. Actually, if we hold it in our hand, it'll show us what we're going to get from it. So there's our mana diamond. Put it right there. I'm going to make myself another mana spreader to shoot mana at it. We're ready to make our first rune, and it's going to be a Rune of Fire, which requires mana powder. This is a new item. A mana steel ingot, another brick, gunpowder, and another wart. And of course it requires some mana, so I've got a mana spreader here set up, and it's pointing right at the Runic Alter, and it should be able to pull mana right from the mana pool. So I'm just going to go up here and drop this stuff on there. Oops. And there. There we go. That was strange. Normally you have to right click with your Wand of the Forest before it'll start doing anything. Well, this is nice. It shows us all the items that are in there. And hooray, it shows that it's ready for a living rock. So now we can throw that on there. Ah! It's so hard to do without picking it up. Okay, then we can right click with the Wand of the Forest. Hooray! We got ourselves 2 Runes of Fire. So the Rune of Fire is a first tier rune. All of the elements, water, fire, earth, air, are first tier, and then we have the second tier, spring, autumn, summer, well, the seasons. And I need to make a summer, which requires 2 first tiers, an earth and an air, and then this stuff. So I'm going to do a lot of that off camera. And then we also have the Rune of Mana, which is kind of in its own category. And the third tier are the 7 Deadly Sins, which all require a first and a second tier. So this one, the Rune of Lust, requires air and summer. The Rune of Summer. Hooray! Oh no, I don't have any living rock. I always have to finish off a recipe with a living rock. And I find if you stand a little above it, you're less likely to pick it up when you drop it on there. Yay! Our first second tier rune. I ran into a strange crash while I was preparing for this. Anytime I would click on a melon in JEI, the whole server would crash. So if you're running 3.0.16, don't click on a melon in JEI. Here we have it, our Gormarilis. I hope this guy produces a lot of mana because it was really expensive. Oh, and by the way, the reason I have these planks down here is because you can walk right through these guys, but they'll still suffocate you. Check this out. Ah, look at that. You can walk right into it and it suffocates you. But if you put a plank below it, that doesn't happen. Although I would actually eventually like to put flowers there. By the way, if you're like me and you're not a big fan of all the noise, that still makes noise though, and there's really no way to turn that off, unfortunately. But at least you can get the mana spreaders to quiet down a little bit by putting wool on them. It's pretty similar to the other setup. I've got a timer, except this time it's only 40 ticks because it's going to eat an apple every 2 seconds. So that's 40 ticks. Every 2 seconds it's going to drop an apple. As long as it's not... And it'll start over every time it receives a redstone pulse. So I have a sequencer here that's emitting a redstone pulse every... What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 times 5. Every 40 ticks. So it's actually just hitting it often enough so that it's not going to tick. The timer is not going to tick as long as there's a redstone signal here. And again, it's set on loop 3, which is loop the cycle when redstone signal is present, continue at current step, and then of course this is still, actually we could probably clear this out and have it only do 1. So that should be working now. So if I turn this off, so I'm basically simulating the mana pool being full. Turn this off, it should start dropping apples. Nice. Wow, we've got a... Okay, that must be producing a lot of mana because our mana spreader is not keeping up. Nice. So we need a new mana spreader. And we could actually move this mana spreader closer to make it a little bit more efficient. But I have a better idea, and it involves making contact with the elves. So that's what we're going to do next time. We're going to get up our portal to Elfheim, and then we're going to actually start making some cool stuff. Now that we have most of our infrastructure in place, and we're generating mana. So next time we'll be able to play with some fun stuff from Botania. I hope you join me for that. If you did enjoy this, please click the like button, and of course if you have any questions or comments or whatever, feel free to leave them in the comments section below. Thanks for watching. Bye.